Alright, what's up, y'all? With the construction noise, I get it, but what kind of a clothing company would we be if we didn't talk about fingernails, right? Yikes. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today is the 24th of November, 2025, hence the fall leaves here in Utah County. Well, let's talk about this. This is our main side. We have 4 sides too in the Image Clothing Company, but here we allow the body to work. Really, the reason we ever would have clothing, and will always have good clothing to wear that you could purchase from InTheImageClothingCompany.com, is because of the human body. We talk about the anatomy of the human body and allow it to work. But clothing is the only thing physically placed onto our bodies, okay? So, our body's center line and Earth's center of gravity, things that we have no say over, have to remain. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw stabilizes the entire body, and all these things need to stay in the center over Earth's center of gravity. Out of any location I could have picked, I picked, this one. I get the construction noise, I understand. Blunt, bold, raw, and real in the Image Clothing Company. We're just here as we are. And what we really need is fingernails. With clothing placed physically on our bodies, it has to stay centered, fit correct, and be made from 100% natural materials in all the ways that we can. Because the musculature of our bodies contracts to the center line of the body. The human body only pulls. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. All musculature just pulls 2 endpoints together, even in a pushing motion. Okay, there's just opposing muscles to a function. And our clothing needs to be centered because the musculature connecting from the outside of the shoulder to the sternum in the center and the front does that evenly on both sides and pulls and contracts. And in the rear, from the outside of the shoulder to the spine in the center on both sides, it just pulls evenly. And that's how the body works. Our feet grip arches inward evenly from our foundation, and they oppose the center line and keep us vertical on Earth's gravity. And so we talk about fingernails and toenails as one of the things, we talk about clothing, a lot of free modifications in clothing to keep our clothing balanced and fit our bodies properly. We talk about shoelaces and drawstrings. These are just ropes introduced to the body, and we can't be altering our bodies with anything like that. I mean, that's a big time alteration. Rotations throughout the whole body. And the human body has a neutral to all its rotations. Internal and external rotation, okay? From the neutral, internal rotation, neutral, external rotation. The first time I said it, I kind of flew through the wording. I'm a lyricist, brother, truly. So, we have to just not alter our bodies. They're designed in the image of God, in the Image Clothing Company, right? 3 of our 5 word name as a whole is just in the image because God designed our bodies. And so we can't alter them, we can't train them, we can't ever get them to do anything. There's only one way the human body could ever work. We just discuss all the things we need to know, really, under In the Image Clothing Company on how to allow the body to work. We talk about eating and sleeping and standing and walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything. Just our daily lives. And we talk about fingernails, and I have since, the very beginning, really, or very close to it, of In the Image Clothing Company at all. And fingernails are something that a lot of people don't have long enough. There's a lot of hygiene myths because it's very great to be hygienic and clean, and there's a lot that comes with that, but one of those things that comes with that is unnatural materials, things that just didn't even exist decades ago from today's date. And we talk about a lot of these things, and one big thing that happens is people cut their nails way too short. Our nails are given to us by God to support our fingers. We've got videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here talking about, there's one titled, Where Grip Strength Really Comes From. And really the hand is the shoulder, and our fingers stem at the spine, clear up the arm and back behind the shoulder where the shoulder musculature connects to the spine. That's where our fingertips start from, really. Or really, we could say they start from the feet at our foundation on Earth. So toenails and fingernails, and we'll get into toenails where we do, but this video is specifically about the fingernails. They need to be intentional. They need to be long enough to fully support the fingertips And what I say when I talk about fingernails and toenails, because I talk about them a lot. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, they're so hugely important. You'll be weak physically if you cut your fingernails or toenails too short, because they're there to support and back your fingers and toes. Yeah. You picture animals, how much they use their claws. You know, it became illegal in a lot of places to declaw cats, which at one time was a really common thing to do, because the cat can't even function. A cat can climb a tree so easily, naturally, but you declaw a cat and it can't even really get up on a short ledge sometimes, you know. The fingernails, the toenails, we're not all that different than animals. And, you know, physical function-wise, like I say, the human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. And the truth is, what I said a minute ago here, a few minutes ago, whatever it was, there's only one way the human body could ever work. But it has to have its natural support, okay? And ideally it lives in a natural world and not with, you know, construction happening left and right. But it happens sometimes, right and left as well, depending on where you turn. So our nails, what I say is, you know, cut relatively flat on the tips. You can round the corners and we can, you know, buff the fingernails and smooth them out with a file. Whatever you do, if they're cut relatively flat, then we don't roll out of this neutral position of the wrist. Man, I get it. I get the noise. I like it, really. But this neutral, we need to reside in our neutrals. Okay, look at my shoulders. When my wrist is neutral, my shoulders are neutral. When my wrist drops down, my shoulder drops down. Back to neutral, and it can come up and back down to neutral. Okay, the hand is the shoulder. And really, the entire body only ever works activated as a whole. Everything's there with a role to play, and its own individual role too. We can't drag around dead weight. No compensation can happen because something can't do the role of something else when they're entirely different functions they're designed by God to do. And the fingers, they only track in line. We have a video here under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, I didn't mean to rush through that because the fingers only ever track in line. This video that I'm referencing here is titled, "There is only one way the hands work," because truly there just is. Things just have to track in line because everything connects from the fingertip, actually all the way up to the elbow, really all the way up to the shoulder, and then really all the way into the spine. But, you know, we bend at the elbow, and it's essentially one straight line from the fingertips to the elbow, with the rotations in the forearm and then the motion to the wrist, and the fingers bending. They only bend in line. Otherwise, things just bind up. Tendons just roll over joints and, you know, damage. Then compensation happens in the shoulder, down to the hips, down to the feet, from our fingernails not being properly cut. So, we cut them relatively flat. We cut them to where they're fully supporting the tip of the finger. We don't want the pad of our finger to roll up over the end of our nail, because then we won't have support. Then it'll alter the joint. Look at this. There's a digit, right? A bone connecting to a bone, connecting to a bone. 3 of them in each of our fingers. Bones that are connected through ligaments to the other bone next to it. And then there's cartilage in there that just cushions the joint as it moves, that only tracks in line. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Yeah. We need to use the pads of our fingers, where all the fingers mesh together at that neutral wrist, okay? And that'll only happen if we have support to use the pad. Otherwise, if there's no support from the nail, we'll try to use the tips of our fingers because there's no support. We just roll away and then our shoulder's altered, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. There's a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here titled "Keeping Elbows at the Natural Waist." And in our lives, just because this is how the body's designed by God to work, the elbow's hanging down from the shoulder capsule with gravity. So if we keep our elbows where my fanny pack strap is here, right at my waist, the natural waist, okay, forward to back, out to in, really just dangling straight down, and just in all the ways, imagine gravity, and you don't have to imagine it, but gravity is just pulling down from the top of your shoulder down to the tip of your hand, you know, tips of your fingers when your arms are just hanging down when you're standing with gravity pulling on your body, right? Keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. That's a lot of what we do as In the Image Clothing Company, just deal with Earth's gravity, okay? The body's just a mechanical machine. It's always being pulled on by gravity the exact same way. So we need to keep our elbows at our natural waist. But this will only happen if our hands work properly. There's only one way the hands work, okay? Truly. Really. So, the nails are huge, okay? When we cut our nails, though, a lot of times people might just be kind of like doing whatever, like this, any position, cutting their nails. They go over to the other side and cut their nails in such different positions. And the angle of your nails and the length of your nails and the way they're cut and how strong they are, and a lot of that is just coming from the way they're cut, determines how your fingers will track. If we cut our nails on an angle like this, then as we close our hand, it'll go on the angle that the nails are supporting the fingers in. And if we cut our nails on an angle like this, then as we close our hand, it'll go in an angle that's how the nails are supporting the fingers. Okay, so this is huge. This is why I'm making this video right now, because it's really important. I mean, for so many years of my life, I had no idea really how to cut my nails. Sometimes they were way too short. Sometimes they just grew pretty long. Maybe not even as long as this. I mean, these are pretty long nails, really. Yeah, I get it. Ideally, they're just right to the very tip of the finger. And so I'm cutting my nails right now because I could use a trim. Anyway, and then let's make this video. Okay, here we are. This is huge. I talk about it often. Anytime I talk about grip strength, wow, it's very common for me to be talking about nails. If I ever talk about the grip or the hands or the gripped arches in our feet, right, the height of a gripped arch, a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, and we talk about the feet all the time. They're our foundation. They're the first thing, really, when it comes to Earth's gravity. There is only one way the feet work. The feet only work barefooted. In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. These are some videos under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company about the feet. We have so many, though, just about the feet alone. And I'm talking about nails all the time, because you have to start there. No workout or exercise will ever give you strength that's just being taken from you when your nails are cut too short. It's impossible. It's just backing. It's just support for your whole body. Your fingernail length is your shoulder's neutrality, if you will, right? The natural scapula position, a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here. Having our shoulder blades, those big bones on the upper backs that are the shoulders, just being in their neutral or natural or normal position, right? Synonyms within the human body, neutral, natural, and normal. That'll only happen if you have proper length fingernails, properly cut. Seriously, okay? So I'm gonna cut my fingernails here, and I'm gonna show you what to do. I'm trying to just keep my opinions out of it, but to be able to have our fingernails be even on each side of our body, be long enough, be properly angled. A lot of what we talk about is angles. When we talk about where clothing sits, we are a clothing company after all, right? The only thing physically placed on us, truly the only fix to human beings' physical problems, seriously, right? Stick around and find out if you don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, you know, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. Clothing has to sit in the same location. It's about the angles that it hangs and sits on our bodies with, Earth's gravity pulling on it. You know, it's about pant waistlines, and it's about shoulder seams. It's about where we stop our lacing. Always stop lacing at ankle flexion. The angle of the ankle. Okay, a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. We talk about a lot of things because there's this universal human design. So it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you have fingernails, you just have to cut them proper. Because then your hands can work proper. Your hands are your shoulders, and your shoulders travel through your whole body. Really, your hands travel through your whole body. Yeah, okay? Fingernails are huge, okay? With their level of importance. We keep our elbows to the natural waist. Keep your shoulders at just a neutral position, okay? And here, we want our wrist, if anything, we want it neutral always, but you especially do not want your wrist to drop, okay? Gravity. It's just going to be the easiest position for your body to get into with patterning. Chronic patterning and scar tissue is what we get out of here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Built up through just lifestyle choices, right? The modern man-made world, this right-handed world we live in. Yikes. Okay. Yeah. We never want our wrists to drop. Our shoulders will drop. Our jaw can't close if our shoulders drop. Okay? Things like keeping collars centered. The shoulder is the jaw directly, as you can see here, if you can see this. Okay? So we never want our hands to drop. It's hard for people usually to get their hands to come up. Okay? It's only one way the human body could ever work. There's two sides to things like the wrist motion, up and down, okay, that directly correlate with the shoulders, and that comes with the angle of the fingernails. So you never want to cut your nails to where they're angled like down and out, away from your center line, because then your hand will drop, okay? And so when you cut your nails, you don't want to be doing this. You see how my wrist is just angled, like it's dropped? And now I'm just sitting here like cutting my nails, and it's in such a weird position. We want our wrist to be very neutral. And that comes from the elbow and the shoulder being neutral. Okay? Keeping elbows at the natural waist, the natural scapula position. We start there, and now you can cut your nails. And what you want to do is not put a lot of little cuts in your nails and start at one side and cut, because your nails start back here and they grow to the tip, and we need just a fresh, clean snip. It's like you're cutting a plant. You know, you prune and snip plants and then they grow back better if you cut them well. But if you kind of just mangle them up, seriously, when you cut them, they're not gonna grow well. They don't have a fresh cut to stem out from. That's how the nails are. So if we can, well, ideally flat, okay, here you go. Because this just gets a cleaner cut anyway. Something round is just gonna kind of like fold and bend your nail until it finally snaps in the clippers if they're rounded. But flat is just this nice crisp cut. And then your nails have a fresh end to grow from, okay? Keep your elbows neutral. Keep your wrist neutral. Straight out from that pinky, right, is the neutral wrist. The human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. So just keep the nail clipper neutral with your arm, with your wrist, with your fingers bent in line, with your elbows at your natural waist, with your shoulder at a natural height. And here you are, centered. And now cut your nail. Don't go too short, and just go all the way across with just one solid snip to get a good, clean, fresh area for it to grow out from, okay? I'm gonna go just slightly shorter with this one, but don't go too short. Okay, look at my wrist position. Look how my fingers are all in line and all together, just how they track normally. Look at my elbow, at my natural waist. Okay, there you go. Pinky finger cut, lengthwise, just right to the very tip of the pinky finger, okay? So, now what I do is I come in the corners, and I just cut the corners off so they're more round. And this is what I mean when I say you can file them, but you just don't want to weaken the nail itself. This is something that grows. It's not just something that's in your way you want to remove as short as you can. It's a tool. It's support for your body, your entire body. You want to be really intentional about your fingernails and toenails. We'll get to toenails where we get to toenails, but it's the same thing. Basically the exact same approach as the fingernails to the toenails. But notice that length that I cut, when I push the pad of my pinky finger, it doesn't roll over the end. All the way to the tip, there's no pad that's not being supported by the nail because I cut it to the proper length. And now on the corners, you just want the same thing. You don't want the pad to be able to roll off to the side and not be supported, because now you're gonna twist your finger by the pad just rolling with no support from too short of cut edges of your nails, and then twisting all the joints in your finger. There's only one way the bones connect in there. They only track in line. There's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? So what I do is I cut it just on an angle, kind of like a 45-degree angle, give or take, on this corner. And then on this other corner, I do the same thing, but I do it with my arm still here neutral, elbow still at my natural waist, okay? my wrist still neutral, my fingers still all in line and together, okay? And there you go. And now I just cut the corners so that they're not gonna be catching on things, but now there's still full support, locked in that neutral position of the wrist, okay? Now I'll go through and I'll do the rest of this right hand and just keep my body centered as I do it. Keep my nail clippers straight. Try to do just one solid cut across. Try to not go too short with the nails so there's still full support to the fingers traveling through the entire body. And I'll just cut these, okay? But yeah, you don't want those corners to be sharp because they can definitely catch on things. You don't want nails in your shoes. I get it, I'm just throwing my nails out here, but hey, natural, right? Protein, keratin? I think that's what it is. What the nails are actually made out of. That's what I'm saying, you know, the nails, they're not just something to like trim down when they're in your way. They are very important. I mean, yeah, the health of your nails comes from your diet, it comes from how you cut them, it comes from keeping them clean. You know, I mean, there's full careers where people just do nails, you know, and I'm not like that. I don't know all of what those people know, but I know, you know, mechanically the need for nails and how to allow the body to work through the angles and positions of things in the body, right? And we do talk about a lot of other things as well, but as far as nails go, you know, I'm not one of those nail technician people by any means, okay? They might have some things to say about my approach to this, but this is, you know, mechanically how we need it to be. Just have strength, to have function, to have motion, and to keep our bodies neutral, which is how we have motion, because you can't train to, you know, one end of a neutral and you can't train to a neutral. That's just where things relax. Now, not here, but if I were standing, right, my arms would just hang down in their neutral wrist position, and then the fingers can track in line. That's the same thing as just having the nails cut flat on the tips. So I'm done with these 4 fingers. Now the thumb. You know, we want our thumb to be in its neutral position. When we have our elbows at our natural waist and our shoulders natural, neutral, normal, okay, through the whole body, neutral wrist, our thumbs point straight up with our elbows bent at the forearms, forward like this. Or when we're standing, our elbows straight will cause our thumbs to be forward, okay? So same thing, like I'm saying, when you cut your nails, be very intentional about the position and the angle your body's in while you cut them, and the position and angle you cut the nail on itself, okay? Keep your whole body centered. Elbows at the natural waist, thumb pointing up and forward, wrist still neutral, and cut your thumbnail straight, flat, just straight out the end of how the bones connect to each other to track in line in the thumb, okay? And then, yeah, once you get that first cut across, go through and get those corners at least relatively round so that they're not going to be catching on things. And that's good. All right, there you go. A thumbnail, fully supporting the tip of the thumb. Okay, you see the pad doesn't roll over the end. It's just being fully supported. And left and right, we're not gonna roll the thumb joint and then have all the joints of the thumb not track in line, okay, because it's supported, solid, very, very, very solid. So much of your grip strength, which just means how the body naturally works, there's so much strength to its grip. You can't train it to get it to be how it naturally be. Sure, you can get stronger in your, you know, neutral gripped position, but I mean, you can be so much stronger just with properly cut fingernails than somebody else with just about no fingernails because they're cut too short that trains their grip strength all the time. Yeah, no, it's mechanics, right? The way I say things sometimes. I get it, it's funny. All right, left hand. Start on either side. I mean, it's not gonna matter necessarily, but we're usually right-hand dominant. 85%, give or take, of human beings, right? We live in this right-handed world. We get into this right-handed patterning. This is what I mean. Be very intentional about the positions you cut your nails in, the angles you cut your nails on, because a lot of the time, that's what really reinforces this right-handed patterning in the right-handed world. And this can be coming from the feet up or the hands in. You know, you can use your right hand better, usually, if you're right-handed. So you cut your left hand relatively well, and then maybe your right hand does not cut well, or the angles are only a certain way because you're in a right-handed patterning, and so you cut your nails kind of off to your side like this, and it strains my voice to be in that position, right? Just imbalanced off to the right in a right-handed patterning, more externally rotated on the right side, dropped lower and farther away from the body's center line. This construction noise, man. Let's get to the left hand. So, elbows at the natural waist, shoulders neutral, wrist neutral, fingers in line. Try to get just one solid cut on the tip of the fingernail. Straight, not cutting more than you need, okay? Get a proper length, still fully supporting the tip of the finger. And then from there, stay centered while you do this, as best as you can. Okay, we cut the corners off, allowing them to still stay long enough to fully support the finger, but round them so that they're not sharp and there's not excessive length there. And there you go, pinky, nice and cut well. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so now we go to the next fingers. Same thing, right? Keep the body neutral, fingers in line. If you can, just get one solid snip across. I mean, there's just a lot of little fibers in that fingernail, you know? It's just growing. And you can sometimes see like little vertical lines in the nails. People might tell you that that means something about something that I maybe don't know as much as them about as of right now. But I just say that because the nail's growing, and it needs to grow in line, and it needs to have this fresh cut. It really is like plants, you know, you trim your flowers, and if you don't trim them well, they don't grow back all that well, usually. Okay, but that's where the strength and the support comes from, though, is that one solid clip across, okay? Because if you, excuse me, Mr. Backup Beeper, if you cut your nails with multiple little clips all the way across them, then all the little fibers of the nails are just being cut on different angles as the nail goes across, and then it just can't grow evenly and strong. Okay, so try to just have, if you can, one solid cut all the way across, because then your nail will kind of grow rounded, you know, like this. And that really reinforces a good, nice, strong finger. And that won't really happen if we have rounded cuts or just a lot of little cuts across the nail, because it just won't be able to be one strong nail, you know. It just grows a certain way, meaning there's only one way that the nails grow, you know, naturally. Anyway, the thumb, okay? This is loud. It is what it is, bro. Elbows at the natural waist, thumb straight forward. Here you go. Clip it. Ideally just one solid cut. Straight forward, okay? Round the corners, just so they're not sticking off and sharp. There you go. I mean, look at that, right? It's just right to the very tip of the thumb, nicely supporting it. So here you go. These are my nails now. Welcome to beauty school with Evan Strong. In the Image Clothing Company's nail clipping tutorial. Seriously, that's what this is. You know, but there you go. Okay. So now, yeah, you've still got full support, but you're not going to catch your nails on things, but they're still long enough to where you're not going to roll over and lose this neutral wrist position, just where the finger pads touch, okay? Because you have support still. So there you go. That's how you cut your nails, man. Fingernails and toenails, same thing, okay? And this may seem long to some people, but it just has to be long enough to the tips of your fingers, otherwise they don't have support. That's just how it is. I mean, naturally, you're out there just working in the earth, you know, you're digging. You're not going to be able to dig with your hands. And sure, you know, you've got tools to dig with as well, but a lot of people just don't use their hands for very much actual real work. I'm not trying to judge or condemn. What I mean is we've got a lot of technology that causes us to use our hands in ways they don't actually do anything, okay? That's a big thing in modern day, okay? But if you're out there and you're digging in the dirt and you're just, you know, grabbing things and moving things and climbing and hiking around and just being a human being on the earth that's always here, you just have to have enough support from your fingernails to support your fingernail, support your fingers, you know? And if you're just like using your hands and your fingernails just naturally wear down, they'll just naturally wear down to the length of the tip of your finger, which is exactly where we're trying to get, which is pretty much exactly how I've cut these, right? Like right on the very tip of the finger. If you're just using your hand and it's just, you know, wearing the fingernails down, imagine just digging in the dirt, okay? It's such a natural thing to do, really. That's the length that your fingernails would wear down to. You know, they wouldn't be able to go farther back in there because you have to use your hands. And that only works on the pads of your fingers. To actually do something, to actually grab, that's what the hands do, by the way. The pads touch together, not the fingertips. That puts you down like this, okay? It deactivates your whole body. Your whole body. If your fingernails are cut too short, okay? Your whole body. You'll never grip feet arches if your fingernails are cut too short. Truly. I mean, not really. It's not going to happen mechanically because your shoulders wouldn't be able to support themselves. No, if your shoulders can't support themselves, your feet can't support you because the body's just a chain. You know, it's just, there's only one way the human body could ever work. Just is what it is, bro. So there you go, right? It's not my opinion on how, like, I think you should cut your fingernails, but this is just how it's going to give you the most support physically, you know, and there you go. So that's great. Fingernails, man. Cutting fingernails naturally. Okay, there you go. My name is Evan Strong. Today is the 24th of November, 2025. We've got Thanksgiving in about 3 days. Yeah. So stick around, right? This is the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. We've got In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, another one of our fours. We specialize in purebred standard poodles. We let dogs stay natural. Same thing as allowing the body to work, but we give information that does apply to all dogs on letting dogs stay natural. We breed purebred standard poodles. We register them properly. We advocate for doing these things and teach people how to be a good owner of dogs. We keep less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes by doing these things. And we do a lot, okay? Keeping collars centered for human beings and dogs. So collars, leashes, harnesses, similar things under In The Image Clothing Company products, okay? Man, noisy construction. Poodle Parade events, one of the events we do as In The Image Clothing Company. St. George, Utah will be where they're gonna be, okay? We're based in St. George, Utah. Currently I'm up in Utah County, but yeah, bring your poodles, purebred of any size or poodle mixes of any size. We'll get people into nature, dogs into nature. We'll do a lot for the environment where we do, you know, specific subcategories like Clean the Creek, Poodle Parade events, and a lot of it will just be a lot of good times that we have together as people, having a good time, having fun. Come if you'd like. In the Image Clothing Company podcast is another one of our fours. We're on episode 179 as of today's date. We have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. We're all human beings placed on the same earth. We have one God who designed us all. We just discuss life as it is. We discuss God as he says that he is. And we don't do that perfect, but he is perfect. Okay, check it out if you'd like to. You don't have to be religious, but it's just deep insights on life. And we're all on the same earth, man. We all listen to the same construction noise if we pass the same construction site. You see what I mean? In the Image Clothing Company's music, okay, another one of our fours, a lot of lyricism, rhythm and poetry, spoken word, off the top type stuff. Guitar setups. Sizing and setup of guitar gets shown to not alter things like the neutral wrist and the rounding in our hands. A lot of that comes from fingernails, but now after watching this video, you know what we discuss with fingernails and the importance of. Okay, do the same thing when you're playing guitar. Don't cut your fingernails specific to do anything specific in life and then go live the rest of your life after that. there's only one way your fingernails will cause your, hands to have the most support that they could. Really allow your hands to have the most support that they could. It's just, how are they going to track in line and just allow everything to function properly? Okay, so there you go. Check us out. Check us out. Anyway, In the Image Clothing Company music. Check us out, brother. Today is the date that I said. My name is the name that I told you. In the Image Clothing Company's cool, man. It'll always be huge. We do things that apply to everyone. A lot of events, a lot of in-person things. And the big thing is those fingernails. I mean, you're out there trying to walk your dog, right? At a poodle parade event or just in your own life. You're just walking your dog. We talk about holding the leashes naturally to not alter our own bodies as the owner, okay? Keeping that neutral wrist and just keeping our elbows at our natural waist, right? We do talk about a lot, interacting with dogs as the owners so that we don't get damaged, our dogs don't get damaged. Yeah, that word kind of sounds silly, but yeah, damaged, really. So there you go. You're gonna have fingernails in everything you do in life if you have the ability to grow fingernails, and there's only the ideal way to do it. Keeping my opinions out of it, right? We talk about the body as it is, the mechanical machine that it really is. The only way that it can function is the way that it's going to be able to function the best. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Yeah, we give a lot of insights, a lot of free things, information, and knowledge, modifications and things, dog products, human being clothing, just ways to approach life, discussions on things that are deep, man, universal things. That's our goal, that's our focus. The gospel of Jesus Christ is just universal to everyone. We're all designed by God, and so that's how we keep things universal, is design our lives after God. Wow, that's cool. Okay, but yeah, your fingers, in the cold, it's pretty cold. It's foggy. I don't know how well you can tell, what it's like out here right now, besides the noise you can probably hear from the construction. I get that. I get it. It's pretty cold, though. And a lot of what happens is our hands just can't function without their natural support from the fingernails. And so your hands will be more stiff in the cold if you don't have proper fingernails. You'll build up excess bone mass in your finger joints and excess muscle mass in your hands. If your fingernails aren't fully supporting your fingers properly, the musculature will try to take over, and then the position will be altered, and then bone spurs get built up. And so there's a lot that comes with this. I'll leave it right there. Thank you, and thank you. Shout out to my skateboard. Yeah, because I found this down in St. George. Not this board, but the trucks and wheels that are on this deck, right? The wood parts of the deck. I found the trucks and wheels on a broken skateboard that had been sitting there in the red dirt down in St. George for a long time. No one was coming back for that thing. It had been a long, long time that it was sitting there. So I brought the trucks and wheels back and I put them on the skateboard deck. There you go. Stick around for the poodles. Thank you. Goodbye.